And we are live.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 7 attendees, including us, five. Okay. So hey, thanks a lot, folks, that you could join. Given it's a Monday and it's midnight in India, it's 8 p.m. in CET. And so yeah, just thank you for joining and thank you for providing your valuable time. So just a quick introduction about me. I'm a developer evangelist at Aviyel. And what exactly are we doing at Aviyel? So for our Aviyel's on a mission to create scalable monetization avenue for projects, and at the same time, we are aiming to do everything that we can while preserving that project's open source character. And at the same time, we believe in empowering strong, incentivized communities around projects, along with driving projects, let's say discovery, and then making sure it is adopted and its growth. And to sum it all up, at its core, we are helping open source projects scale and make them sustainable. So now getting back to today's session, as most of us know, and because we are joining from at midnight, so most of us are already knowing. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the last Twitter post. Most of us know we have an amazing speaker with us today. I have been personally following her work for quite some time now, thanks to Tech Twitter. So yes, thanks Arisa. Thank you for taking out the time and joining and taking out the time from your busy schedule, given it's a Monday. So yeah, it will be only fair to get a little intro from Arisa herself about what is her current role and what she's currently working on and who she's currently working with and what company. So yeah.
All right, stage is mine. Yeah, thanks again for inviting me. And I'm really happy that I have this opportunity. So yeah, I'm Arisa Zaki, originally from Japan, but right now I'm located in Germany. So my my role at the current company is developer relations engineer. And I work at the Storyblock. So we are the headless CMS. And yeah, as some of you know, there are a lot of headless CMSs, but I chose Storyblock because as a developer, I really liked about it. And yeah, so my main job at there is giving talks in the conferences like this in the online and sometimes in offline as well. So I really enjoy that, as well as communicating through the users in the community we have. So yeah, that's mainly what I do at work, as well as maintaining tutorials, checking up our open sources for being up to date, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much how I do and who I am.
Yeah, I mean, what Storyblock is doing is quite fascinating, which was not done before. It's especially the headless CMS, where from what I know, it also works. It is made both for the developers and the business users,
yes,
right?
Yes, because, it's made for both. Yeah, not just for developers, both, because we have our main one of the main features we have is the visual editor. So this visual editor feature gives the live editing feature, so that the any users will be able to see, like while they're changing the content, they will be able to see the changes in live. And at the same time, you're not like accidentally publishing the content, so it's very easy to use for everyone.
Thanks to Tech Twitter again. I had been following Storybox work for a while. And also Siddharth, who just joined as a developer.
Sid just joined.
Sid just joined. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, he's doing really great.
He's been doing great. His hackathons were great. And I've been following his work for quite some time now. Yeah, he's doing great. So now we can actually start diving a little into your journey and then start to understand things from your perspective, right? And your professional journey as how did you just get into how did you just become a developer, and then from what I understand, you switched from being a cabin crew, right? That is very unique for me. That is something that I've not seen before. Then after being a developer, you switched into DevRel. Just walk me through that initial journey and why just switch from such an amazing job, because from what I know, it's still a dream for a lot of people to join the cabin crew, because they are like very esteemed people. So just walk me through that.
So as you already said, I used to be a cabin crew. It was quite some time ago, like 4 to 5 years. So yeah, but then I tested out whether I will like this job or not. In my case, just in my case, because I know there are a lot of people still liking it and they're really doing a great job. But in my case, it wasn't a match for me. So I was looking for something really highly demanded in all over the world. Plus, I was looking for a job that allows me to work full remote, because I definitely wanted to be in the place where I want to live. So it has to be a full remote. So when I was searching it while I was still flying in many destinations, I found out that, developers job could be something that I'm really looking for. And I'm kind of person that like always want to test it out. I then want to find out like, okay, this is something for me or something not for me. So yeah, I had like for 1 second kind of hesitated, like, okay, I didn't come from the background from the, computer science or stuff like this. But in my case was like, yeah, but wait a minute, I haven't yet tested it out, so let's try. And I tested out from a very simple like online programming like courses, not even with the mentors, stuff like that. And yeah, markup languages were the first one I tested out, and I really loved it because I could see the results like right away. So when I do right, everything is like, coming, return as I have been expecting. So that's, what gave me something like really fun feeling. So I was like, okay, then now I know I really love like writing code, stuff like that. And maybe I want to move on to study from JavaScript, because I was into web at the time already. And I started, but then I was like, oh God, I easily forget stuff when I'm working full time, because my previous job like required me to, work for like a couple of days for going to one destination and then coming back. And it means I have like some time gap, like where I want to study, but I can't.
Yeah.
So this really was hard for me to keep it up. So I was like, okay, I've worked in there 1 year, so I can already like resign and focus on to study for short time, then I'm gonna find a job. So that's how I quit my previous job. And then, I studied for 2.5 months, like really full commit, like except eating or sleeping, I was just like keep studying. I didn't feel like so hard process while I was doing it, because simply it was really, really fun. Almost like, when you're playing the game and then you forget about the time and you don't want to leave because you're really having fun. That's the feeling I had. So yeah, I was studying in again another online school, but more committed with a mentor. So yeah, and then while I was still in there, I started to find some of the clients, and I had two at the time, and completed to build their projects, and that's how I eventually started to work as a freelance front-end developer. And in the beginning, of course, it was hard to, find the clients, because I only had like 2 projects in the beginning. But eventually I started to increase the numbers of like what I could show in my portfolio and made a connection. And I belonged in a couple of communities, like tech communities. And from one of the community, where actually I was having a contract with this community like organizer, I met one person. He was trying to create a online programming school for Japanese people. So I was like, okay, I'm interested in teaching, and I'm interested in to build a startup from scratch. So that's how I got into be involved for teaching, teaching programming.
Understood.
And there I worked for like more than 2 years, but then like suddenly this, the creator of the online programming school told me like, hey Arisa, sorry, I shut down the school today, so you're on your own way. Then I'm like, what? I mean, I still have my students, like about 10 or more. I mean, you can't just say bye to them, and being like this, that's not nice. And I didn't want to do like that. And anyway, I knew that they wanted to keep studying, and I also wanted to keep teaching them. So I was like, okay, if there's no school to teach, then I'm gonna make my own. So I made my own, and yeah, students
Yeah.
were like constantly studying, and there were new people came in, stuff like that. And then that was the 50% of the amount of the work I had at the time, and then the rest of the 50% was like helping the clients to build their project from monolithic to headless. So yeah, that's why
Okay.
I really
Yeah.
was like loving the headless, the beauty of the headless.
Understood.
And
Yeah.
I started to talk like this March. So yeah, less than a year, I started to like give a talk in conferences. And that's how I actually met my colleague right now. And then he was like, hey, there's DevRel. Maybe you might be interested in, why not to try? And then I was like, okay, then I will try. Then here I am. So long story in short, I tested out everything, but I wanted to see whether it fits for me or not, and here I am.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a great sum up, right? But then, uh, there's so many parts to it that we will be diving a little into each of them slowly. But then, yeah, this is the question that we get a lot from attendees who are just starting out, who are not that much into Devil, just starting with the the developer journey. So, what was your first Hello World, and just how were you introduced to the world of developers, and if by whom?
You mean
If there was some
you mean
mentors.
into dev roles
Yeah.
or in tech? Into tech?
Into
Tech.
tech.
Okay,
Yeah.
so into tech,
Yeah.
actually, there was no one introduced me to do or say
Okay.
hello world. I did by myself, but the
Okay.
tools or
Okay.
I should say source I found is called Progate. Maybe for some of the people from India, they might know, because I know they distribute the service
Yeah.
in India too. Anyway, so Progate, it
Yeah.
started from
Yeah.
Japan, if I'm correct. And they had a couple of like online courses. So that's how I did Hello World. So yeah, no one at the time, but I found the service. So thanks to the online like free sources and the internet.
Yeah. Progate has a very strong community. As far as I know, even in the Indian basis, and especially when it comes to Asia.
Yeah.
So they have a very strong community, especially the tech community. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Especially, I mean, not knowing and not having a mentor and still diving into tech and not coming from a background, that is pretty unique to me too.
Yeah.
Because what I see is most of the it is for the most of the folks that I've interacted with till now. For them, it has always been people that were always around them, right? They were all developers. They were like, hey, I should try
Yeah.
it. But then you were surrounded by a very different surrounding, very different crowd,
Yeah,
right?
no one. Yeah.
And then, and then you were taking a leap of faith somewhere different. So yeah, that's pretty unique.
Thanks.
So now that the dev tech part is done, or the developer part is done, now I would like to focus a little on your DevRel journey specifically. Like every DevRel that I've met till now, their journey has been quite unique, and your journey is quite unique too. I've never met a cabin crew who has turned into a developer, then into DevRel. So how was your journey into DevRel like? And so just tell me, how did you start with it? Like, what were the basic needs that you thought that, okay, these are the check marks that I need to have to turn into Devil? Or maybe, yeah, just tell me about it. And then I
Sure.
have a
Yeah, of course. So the funny thing is, like, I wrote a blog post on my website. It says that you could be a DevRel too. So the reason why I'm saying, thanks. Yeah. So I think you know the story, but for some of the people, don't know yet. So basically it's about like anyone who has the potential, or like who are doing like some community like activities, or like speaking in some of, like regardless of the scales of the event or conferences, could be DevRels, because you are already working as kind of, advocate or a DevRel role. So in my case, I didn't aim to be a DevRel. I knew the term DevRel, but the image I had in my mind before being a DevRel was like, I came from Japanese tech community. So a lot of like DevRels in Japan, they're like, yeah, over 90% of them are like super famous, like star developers that has the over 5K followers, stuff like that. And I'm not, obviously, I'm not famous. I'm quite like, I don't know, invisible, in my opinion. So for me, it was like, nah, that's not for me. I'm not like them. So or it's hard to be like them. So not for me. So that's what I was feeling. But then like I was asked from my current colleague, like, hey, you're maybe fit to the DevRel, so why not try? And then I was like, okay, I need one more person to confirm, like, from what I have been doing it, like, intentionally. So I asked one of my DevRel friends, and then she told me that actually all the activities you're doing or like the stuff you're creating are really good fundamental of being DevRel, or you are actually DevRel. Why don't you go? So I'm like, oh, okay. I just didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, but it turned out like it was totally like DevRel like stuff. So I was basically like writing tech blogs like every single time when I learn new or find something interesting. And I was doing podcasts in my language, Japanese, and in English too. And I was teaching. So I taught nearly 50 students one-on-one. And what else? Yeah, I was creating a lot of like programming educational like course materials at the previous school. Yeah, stuff like that. Plus I started to talk. So yeah, but I think I would say like from my experience, talk has really like the biggest impact. And also that's the element that people will start to know about you. So before that, I was so invisible because people never saw me like talking, maybe like with, I don't know, appearing like with the video screen on, stuff like that. So I was quite invisible. But once I started to talk, then yeah, the people who I could approach, or the people started to approach me, the numbers of them were like really like boosted up. So maybe that's something that you can, take as a takeaway message. Yeah, so there is nothing to-do list, but if I pick one, talk experience could be like really, one of the biggest, to-dos. You might want to test it out. Yeah.
This is something I connect to a lot with, especially being invisible, especially on Twitter, right? Because I myself, I never focus a lot on my Twitter profile as of yet. I might someday, but as of now, I don't feel the need to, because I had always been a person who was very good in attending in-person meetups. I was always great at building connections there, because that is when I felt I could actually judge a person and build real connections there, right? But then the COVID thing happened and the whole thing switched to remote. That is when I think a lot of DevRels have picked up their online portfolios and profiles, because before that, a lot of it was just based out of connections, right? I met this person, that person helps me connect to the main person whom I am now working with, something like that. But then, I connect a lot with that, especially being invisible. We will. I have a question on that.
Oh yeah, sure.
But then we'll be diving into that. We'll be diving that into a little later, because we do have. So we'll be diving into that a little later. But then now, there's this role of there's not a role, but then there's this maybe job or a task, subtask that you can call under developer relations, where advocates and evangelists focus a lot on teaching, especially if it is product based, where they have to start evangelizing, advocating. That is something a lot of DevRels do, a lot of us do. And also I've seen a lot of DevRels, a lot of them have been teachers of some sort in the previous career. So how do you think this does having a previous teaching experience of some sort help build a DevRel career in, especially from your experience in Code Grid and also Liliac, if I pronounce it correct?
I have three schools, where I used to work to teach programming. So one is owned by me, Lilac, and the other one is called Grid, and the other one is Front-End Fox's School. Yeah.
Okay. So just do you think it helps to build a better career in DevRel as in general, or maybe even for a person from your experience, even if a person does not have a teaching experience, can they get started with Devil? What are your thoughts?
I have two answers to that. So starting from the first question was like, well, definitely yes. Having the teaching experience, having teaching programming experience really helps you a lot to maybe like start to work as a DevRel or advocate, because you will have a lot of opportunities, or almost every day, like constantly like communicating with your end users, customers, or even partners. So you need to have a really good communication skills at the same time, not just conversational communication skills. I'm talking about the communication skills as a developer to developers. So you need, to be able to provide the correct information in an easier way for them to be able to understand, as well as, like try to, try to put yourself into their shoes to understand what kind of problems or issues they're facing right now. So you need to have a little bit of patience for that, because for some people, it's going to be, for them, it's going to be quite new experience to discover the products that you have been working every day. So you need to understand that first of all, and being able to teach like in very clear way. So teaching experience will definitely help for it, because that's what it is about, like teaching, technologies. So the first question, I would say yes, it helps a lot. And the second question was like, for some of the people don't have the maybe teaching programming experience, can they still be DevRel? My answer is yes, they still can. I would say like there's no like must do to do checklist for being DevRels or advocates. So as long as you're very good at to interact with the end users in like no matter what kind of ways that you choose, then you're able to be DevRels, in my opinion. Because like my colleague Sid, he's here right now. I see that. He's really good at to interact with community. So he's taking a charge of taking care of our Discord community, and also thinking about or considering about how we can improve more community activities. So that's what he's really good at it. At the same time, I'm more like, focused on for giving talks, as well as like directly talking to the customers or partners through the calls we have. So we separate the roles depending on like what you're good at it. And there's another colleague of mine, his name is Fortune. He also joined just recently, shortly before Sid, and he's really good at documenting, the sources we have, as well as writing the tutorials. So each people like have very different, like main focus, although we all are DevRels. So I would say like any kind of experience you have would be very useful. You just need to find out like, or being aware of by yourself, like, okay, what am I good at it? How can I be good at it to communicate with people? Like in which way? Is it through text or through communicating or through talks, stuff like that. So my short answer is yes, but more details, you need to find like what you're good at to communicate with them.
Basically finding a niche would be a better way to maybe explain that, even because there's a lot of hats that a developer puts, right? And there's usually where I've seen, and even during my past experiences, there is always a overlap between developers switching from business teams to engineering teams and vice versa. And we have to sit with a lot of different teams. And sorry for changing the orientation between the podcast, because my battery was dying, so I had to disconnect the external.
No worries.
That is placed here. So now I'll be facing this way. But then sorry for that.
No worries.
But then so now we'll be following up on that same question that we had. It was about, does not having a massive following, or not being a very known personality in the developer relations field become a deal breaker for developers trying to get in? And what are your thoughts? Like, after you share your thoughts, I'll share mine, because I've had personal experience with it.
So
Yeah.
my opinion would be, well, you don't have to be like super famous with having like tons of like, I don't know, 10K or over 20K of followers. In fact, I didn't even reach 2K yet. But the thing is, there are some certain people that who are really like being interested in about what you're doing, what you're working at. So trust in your community. There are definitely people who would love to talk about what you're working on, stuff like that. And you don't have to chase with the numbers. Numbers are not the most important. How do I say? Like the element that we should look at it to be a DevRel or advocate. Actually, the most important part is like how you're able to engage and encourage them more to be active in the community, as well as to, like not forcing them, but like in the natural way to, let them speak about like how they like the experience of using your products. So this is more important stuff than the numbers of the followers you have or likes or, retweets, stuff like this. To be honest, I do not importance these numbers. I do not mind. It doesn't bother me. And it doesn't also bother my developer careers. As well as to the products that I'm working on. To be honest, it's really important that, for example, in my case, I'm quite active at the Gatsby's community. So that's why I have some certain people that I really like keep continuing talking, even sometimes doing live show together, teaming up with the Gatsby team as well. Also, I also love Next.js too. So that's why I'm kind of working in both like nice frameworks to have a bridge, and also will be able to share the, some of the knowledge based on from the both frameworks, etc. But this kind of stuff is possible to do because I am kind of a person I like really liking to do, and people will be able to communicate these people through me. So that's the very important. Being a bridge, that's really weird things to say, but then I like make the connection, between the end users and the products that you're working on. So expanding the communities are like that's the most important part. You should be paying attention, not the numbers of the followers.
I guess the best number that anyone in DevRel can focus on are the internal KPIs that are given by your manager. Those are the best numbers that you can stick to, and rest, I guess, it never hurts to have a lot of followers, because that is something that if it is there, it is great. But then even for the folks who don't have a great following, if they have had a great experience being a developer, let's say even 2 years or 1 year, and I always tell people, hey, please be a developer first, then dive into developer relations. But then even if you have 1 or 2 years into the whole thing, it's maybe not, there's no fixed time to it as such, but then just based out of your experience, when you think, hey, you're ready to make switch, you can do it, right? Because it's the profile that you're presenting to the person you're getting interviewed with that matters more than the followers and everything. So because I've seen a lot of developer folks who still have their private Twitter handles,
really?
and they're very selective about
okay.
So they are very selective about they are still very select, and they have been to developer cons, and they have spoken on dev and they are very selective about the people who are following them. So that's just a preference. But then should it matter, or should it be a deal breaker? I don't think so. But then it never hurts at the same time. I had also, while researching about you, I had also read about your work in the Gatsby's framework, and similar thing with what was Next.js, right? The other one was Next.js. So that was pretty fascinating, because there's what I've seen is DevRels usually tend to focus on one framework at a time. But then that is what, right? You're connecting bridges, and then you're working on 2 different frameworks.
Well,
and then so
I would say both are quite, I would say, similar in my opinion. Maybe I shouldn't say that from their perspective, but as a developer, it's not too difficult, to test it out, the other one, and based on from the other, framework. So I would say they're quite, a lot of developer folks are, quite good at for both. In fact, I mean, I came from Gatsby and then started to also discover the Next.js too, because I
Oh,
had a chance and
okay.
I started to really liking it too. So now I'm able to, take the both of the, goodies. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried out Next
Oh
first,
yeah.
then I went to
Uh-huh.
Next. So
Yeah,
I
those
mean
are
it's pretty
different.
crazy out there,
Yeah.
especially yeah. So those are pretty
Yeah.
different, and but then it's pretty crazy out there with JavaScript and their frameworks. There's quite a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it, and there's a lot of speculations about each and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, but then yeah. Now, but then you were talking about the talks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially the ones that you had given, and those are large scale conferences. They are the tech conferences that are
Mm-hmm.
held. So, what are the few pointers that you would just give to the audience about
Mm-hmm.
preparing for the talks at tech conferences and not sound boring? Because from what I
Mm-hmm.
understand, tech conferences are made for developers, and anything that doesn't sound cool to them, they usually lose out, right? They'll
Mm-hmm.
be like, "Hey, this is boring. Let's just move on," or "Let me take out my phone." So, how do you keep the whole audience engaged at the same time and make sure that your talk isn't boring?
So
What is some
I
pointers?
have I have two main points, especially like for online conference and in-person conference. So until just like recently, I didn't have yet the experience of speaking in an in-person conference, but I had luckily. So yeah, maybe starting from in-person because my memory is fresh. I just had an in-person conference in Oslo for NDC Oslo. And in there, I learned quite a lot because I was given an hour of talking, my content, and it's quite long, slot. That's what I felt
Yeah,
in the beginning because I came from the
yeah,
background of speaking in online conferences. So, but the thing is, when I started to watch people talk, actually it feels more natural to start like gradually like starting to talk about the topics, not starting to talk like the main topics from band in the beginning. No, because you need to consider about like, okay, people are coming from the other talks, which the one and like finished like quite like after a few minutes past from the supposed to finish time, and then like joining like late after grabbing something to eat or went to bathroom, stuff like that. So if you start your like main topics like from, I don't know, like the from the beginning, and then it's gonna be like, yeah, people are gonna like miss what you're going to talk about, and it's not going to like
sure.
engage. Like, okay, this talk sounds very interesting. I may stay in here longer, or stuff like that. So you need to in person. You need to talk like you need to talk in a way that you're talking to your friends or like family or someone that you have conversation with face to face, not like just online meetings or calls, stuff like that. Because if it's in online, you just need to be there like in a dedicated time. Except that you don't have to be there. So yeah, you have limited slots anyway. That's why you need to get into like or dive into the main topic already. But in person conference is not like that. And the most important part is like you need
Yeah,
to tell the stories before you start to talk about the main topic. That's what I learned.
yeah. So
Yeah, a lot of tricks from the other speakers. So my talk was on the second day for this conference. So I learned quite a lot from the day one because I had a chance to like listen and watch the other top speakers. So I was like, okay, I need to change my structure. This is totally for online conference, like structure. So I changed in the day two, and then I provided the talk like, by starting to tell the stories from the customers and from myself, from my experience. And then people started to be like really interested in, and in fact, there were like really less people just watching the phone, stuff like that, or left from the room, in my opinion.
yeah,
So in person, you need to tell the stories and don't start from the beginning, like from the full speed, and then start to talk about the main topic. No, you need to
yeah.
start to show like not slowly, eventually, yeah, to be more interesting.
Eventually,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then yeah, that's the key for the in person, I would say. And also ask like whether they're able to see your slides or not, or source code if it's in person. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
definitely they will make faces like this. that I can't see stuff like that. And don't ignore their signs. It means that they can't see.
So
They
true.
can't see. If you ignore and keep
Yeah.
going like stuff like this, then they will lose the interest. So just ask. It's totally okay to pause a moment and then ask them like actually, can you see my source code right now? And then they see like no, or like yeah, tinier, or stuff like this, and then it just increase. Then back to
Yeah.
the talk. That's totally okay, and this way is better. Yeah. So I think I talked too much about the in-person conference tips. So moving on to the online. So online
Yeah.
conferences, I have more experience in online. So online, I would say like you don't have to have like really like high spec of the gadgets for that. That's not the most important part. In fact, I don't have like really nice Nikon camera, like set it up in here. This is just the webcam, to be honest. And I mean, for microphone, I have a good one, but that's something I wanted to invest because I have a podcast. But for that, you don't have to have like really best gadget or most
Yeah.
expensive gadget for that. The important part is like how you deliver the talk again. But you need to be,
So
you
true.
need to be clear and simple if it's in online. I mean, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that in person can be complex or stuff like this. No, you need to deliver talk in a very limited amount of the slot. That's why you need to be short, clean, and easy to understand. So that's the, I guess, key for online conferences. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that sums it all up. I mean, I never frame my question
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, okay, there's also this element of online and offline conferences are
Yeah.
now. But then, yeah, you you summed it up pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
So I mean, yeah. So I this would be one of the last
Mm-hmm.
questions because the podcast is supposed to be of around 40 to
Oh
45
yeah.
minutes. It was supposed to be 30 to
I
40 minutes, but
know.
then we've covered a lot of
I
things.
talk a lot.
It is, yeah. No, it is totally fine. I mean, we're supposed
Yeah.
to, and those were some great learnings. But then, I've also read your blog about
Mm-hmm.
this, and I know a few key pointers that were mentioned. But then, what are the best ways to stay relevant in the DevRel field as of now, according to
Mm-hmm.
you? And maybe share a few pillars that you have
Mm-hmm.
for that you key that are your keys and that you
Mm-hmm.
focus on. Okay, so these are the key pillars that I'll be focusing on till the time I'm in
Mm-hmm.
Devrel. And also, yeah, just how do you stay relevant in 2021 in Devrel and in
Mm-hmm.
Cup for you? Yeah.
So the thing is, I'm trying to, stay up to date as a DevRel and also as a developer is that always try to join in like the major like events or conferences. For example, in my case, I came from the background as a front-end developer. So I'm always like checking like the big conference that you cannot miss as a developer. For example, recently, a few days ago, we just had a React Conf. So that's something that I
Yeah.
cannot miss at all. So I was totally like hooked and then watching it and also testing out like what they shared from the sources, etc. And yeah, same thing for the, let's say like Next.js Conf. Anyway, I was as a speaker and Gatsby Conf or even Vue, like from the JS world, like Vue related conferences, Next Nation also. I try to watch it because those are the areas that I haven't yet familiarized myself, although I have developed something and I can read, but that's not something that I'm like professionally, like, how do I say, like say opinion about or like work as a
Yeah.
developer yet.
Yeah, I understand.
So the
Yeah.
point is I
Yeah.
try to gather like the most current news from the front end world. In my case, if you're a backend developer, then you should gather the info from backend world. So this is the thing I'm doing to stay up to date. Also, if there's something like during at work, for example, like when I need to investigate some of the errors that users have encountered, or like while I'm maintaining, and if there's something maintaining some of the open sources we have, and when I see like something is not right, then I kind of like always try to ask the questions in my team if I don't know the answers, because it's always better to have like several brains together to think and find out the best solution instead of just one. Because just
Yeah, so true.
so that's the point. Finding the right answer to them, because they want the correct answer. It doesn't have to be like always like my answer. No, they didn't request my answer. Instead, they want the correct answer. So that's what I do. Also, I can take as my learning too. So I also will gain my skills. And yeah, even when I feel that, oh god, I know there's a busy sorry development team, but I still want to know this, answer, then I just ask them. Yeah. And I know like they're really nice and they're really good at teaching us also. So I take this opportunity instead of like, just keeping the stuff which I don't know in my mind. And then I like, one day open up the door and then I like, whoa, I don't know this. Sorry, I cannot explain. No, I don't do that. So yeah, when I find something I don't know, I ask, in my team, or I have my own community. Like that's what I like turned my school previously into a community. So we have over 90 members. So there are a lot of like experts in it, regardless of like just front end or back end, or there are a lot of them. Yeah, from security or stuff like that. So when I want to know something new, I always ask in my community. It doesn't matter whether I'm just the organizer from the community or just the regular member. No, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I try to learn from people. Yeah, so that's what I try to do. And community and conference. So yeah, three pillars to keep yourself up to date. You need to learn from people. Then there's the community, then there's a conference. So those are the pillars, I would say.
I mean, those are, that sums it up actually. Yeah, you said community, then people, and then conferences. I mean, I have always been that person who has to register for the event, and then I download the ICS from the. I mean, I download the calendar from the mail itself. It's like just marking your calendar for some Netflix that is coming up. It's similar to that for developers. It is the big conferences that is happening. But then, I totally agree to that. Especially, I mean, one of the key advantages that you have is that you have a community of 90 people. So it must be really close knit. And given all of them are now experts and already experts in that, so that must be really helpful, because close knit communities, and I've always felt that less is always more when it comes to close knit, especially the tech communities. So yeah, that must be a great help too. I mean, we covered a lot of topics, we started with your journey, which was pretty unique, from cabin crew to developer relations, and then we got to know about a lot of contracts that you were doing, and then at the same time, then we talked about how and why you became a developer. Then we got a few pointers from you about why you transitioned into devil, and then you told us you were basically a devil before knowing you were a devil. Something similar happened to me too. And then we covered a lot of topics and a lot of follow-up questions from your journey. I mean, it was a great session.
I really enjoyed too.